like, bro, yeah, she got a kid. Look at his back. Oh my god. What's up, y'all? Welcome back to another reaction. This is Why No One Can Stop North Korea, real life lore. We reacted to real life lore a few times. Yeah, I can say that title is pretty much accurate, you know. North Korea, it seems like they may be pushovers because, you know, all the propaganda that's spewed about them, about how they're a very weak and poor, fragile country that if we were to attack them and unleash our entire military might on them, I wanted to, along with our allies in like Japan and South Korea, if we'd be able to total the Kim regime within a few weeks, which is true to an extent. That's if the war doesn't escalate into a nuclear thing, because now Kim's regime have nuclear weapons and they have the capability to use nuclear bombs, ICBMs, because you got to think about all the U.S. troops that are stationed in South Korea, Japan, and throughout the Pacific in general. You know what I'm saying? So they have that, plus they have China backing them as well. It really just depends on whether or not they kind of like are hostile first. It depends on whether or not China is going to step in. You'll see China step in regardless if the United States is to invade them. They probably will invade into North Korea to try to establish some type of just some type of buffer zone. North Korea exists as a buffer zone for China. That's the only reason they still exist to this day. It's because China is able to provide them with trade and provide them with all the economic things that they would die and shrivel up as a state without, due to all these crippling sanctions from the rest of the world. If it wasn't for China being like that back door for them, they would be screwed. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, they do have military capability. They have 2 million plus soldiers. They have the largest amount of artillery of any country in the world. I mean, they have a certain amount of nuclear weapons. So their military capability is not completely whitewash. It's not completely nothing. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, hit that like button, subscribe, and share. Really appreciate everyone that's come back to the channel. Let us know if you want to see more of these geopolitical, you know, like modern news type stuff. I enjoy watching these kind of things. I know you guys too. So just let me know in the comments. Like I said, road to 10K. We'll hop right in.
Most of the world's eyes were firmly fixed on the catastrophic events taking place in Ukraine and Russia. But over on the other side of Eurasia, 2022 was a very busy year for North Korea as well. Kim Jong-un's regime spent it by firing more missiles than in any single previous year. At least 90 of them, 8 of which were classified as intercontinental ballistic missiles, or ICBMs. Among these 8 ICBM tests was the record-breaking one accomplished on the 24th of March, when the North fired an ICBM from near Pyongyang that soared over 6,000 kilometers above the Earth's surface. Across approximately 71 minutes of flight time, the missile arced down and crashed into the Sea of Japan just to the southwest of the Japanese island of Hokkaido. This test achieved the highest altitude of a missile ever fired by the North Koreans to date, while analysis of the missile's trajectory and flight time suggests a disturbing new reality. It is likely that whatever missile the North Koreans fired here possesses the capability to strike targets at a range of around 15,000 kilometers. Which is frightening because it now places nearly the entire world outside of South America within North Korean ICBM range. Damn. On the 4th of October, the North Koreans fired an intermediate-range ballistic missile from around here in the north that flew clear across the Sea of Japan and over the airspace above northern Honshu before crashing far to the east in the Pacific Ocean, around 4,600 kilometers away. That test all but confirmed the North's current ability to fire ballistic missiles that can strike targets anywhere in South Korea, Japan, or U.S. military bases in Guam that are home to nearly 22,000 U.S. troops. Yeah, and now, with nearly 100 missiles fired over the past year, the North is likely getting ready to carry out its 7th nuclear weapons test. The last time the North detonated a nuclear bomb like this was in 2017. The explosion that one generated was already estimated to be around 50 kilotons, or about twice the power of the atomic bomb that was dropped on Hiroshima by the United States in 1945. It's unclear how powerful their next test will be, but what is clear is that North Korea's ability to deliver nuclear warheads on the tips of missiles is advancing rapidly. And it's not just their development of strategic nuclear weapons that can theoretically deliver city-ending bombs to anywhere in the United States. The next objective on the North Korean weapons checklist are tactical nuclear weapons. And once they acquire those, stopping the Kim regime will become an almost impossibly high cost for anyone to bear. You see, tactical nuclear weapons differ
So they
significantly from
don't have them
strategic
yet.
nuclear weapons in a
They're
few
trying to get them.
critical ways. Tactical nukes are dramatically smaller in scale and shorter in range, and are only intended to be used to accomplish limited military objectives on the battlefield. They can be fired as if they were artillery, and their authorization to be deployed can be placed into the hands of battlefield commanders. This contrasts with strategic nuclear weapons, which are the big, frightening ICBMs that can travel between continents and annihilate entire cities, whose use is often regarded only as a last resort and where the authorization to fire is entirely placed within the hands of the head of state. In the case of North Korea, they already have strategic nuclear weapons, but these are largely useless for deterrence all on their own. In the case of an all-out war between North Korea and South Korea along with the United States, the North knows that it is 100% guaranteed to lose a conventional conflict. The United States has nearly 30,000 troops deployed to South Korea already, around 50,000 more ready nearby in Japan, and 22,000 more relatively nearby in Guam, while the United States Pacific Fleet, headquartered over in Hawaii, is the largest of all of America's fleets, with 250,000 sailors and Marines, 2,000 aircraft, and
250,000
200
soldiers.
ships under its command ready to be deployed. In the event of war, the United States and South Korea's significantly better technology all but guarantees that they would quickly overpower the North's primitive air defenses and achieve complete air superiority, enabling them to pummel the North's defenses and troops on the ground with near impunity. One only has to look at how rapidly the United States overran Iraq in 2003 as a prime example. In only a little more than 5 weeks, the United States' overwhelming air superiority and accompanying ground invasion enabled them to topple Saddam Hussein's regime and inflict tens of thousands of fatalities on his technologically inferior army, while only suffering less than 200 deaths of their own in the process. So, just like Iraq, Kim knows that in a limited shooting war with the United States without ever resorting to nukes, his regime will probably get wiped out in a matter of weeks. But strategic weapons on their own still do very little to balance out this calculus. Were Kim to perceive an attack coming from the United States, firing one of his strategic nukes across the Pacific to hit an American city somewhere would be guaranteed to incur a retaliatory strategic nuclear strike from the United States.
Okay, so they don't have tactical nuclear weapons yet. They do have ICBMs, which are intercontinental ballistic missiles, which can, like you said, theoretically reach anywhere in the world besides South America, just because of like how far away those countries are compared to how far the missile would have to glide through the atmosphere in order to reach those countries. Damn, I don't necessarily know how many nukes they could send, or they could afford to send to mainland United States. I mean, I know they want to destroy or inflict some type of damage upon us, but I don't necessarily think that they will waste an ICBM on an enemy that's far away and who has the technology to possibly shoot down a missile. We don't know if the missile is even going to make it that far across. I feel like they would likely target Japan, uh, South Korea, obviously. And like I said, they have huge amounts of artillery. A lot of their artillery is pointed right at Seoul. A lot of other cities that are close to the DMZ, the militarized zone, where they can just pretty much just bomb these cities into oblivion. Just bomb, bomb, bomb. But yeah, I don't know if they were escalated to nuclear weapons. I don't necessarily see the United States using nuclear bombs. If Korea strikes one of our allies, I don't see the United States using nuclear weapons. If they strike us, yeah, that's like a nuclear policy. Like we just have to respond, retaliatory strike. It's just kind of like how it works. But I feel like if he was to use that weapon against our allies, we'll see the United States respond with an overwhelmingly strong conventional force. We have an advantage when it comes to naval, air power. We could bomb their cities, bomb their production sites, bomb their military output sites, their farming sites for the army. We can bomb all those places for weeks on end. We can do that from relatively safely from the sea. I mean, they do have the missiles and things that probably reach us, but again, how much could they spare when they have to fight South Korea, Japan, and the United States? You know, Now that just depends, like I said in the beginning, whether or not China comes to their aid. Now, if China comes to their aid militarily, I don't necessarily see if that's, like I said, if North Korea is the aggressor. But if they're being attacked, you can expect China to possibly come to their aid because they're kind of like that buffer zone between the West and themselves. Like that's the only reason North Korea still exists right now because they're that buffer zone between South Korea, capital South Korea, capitalist Japan, all that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, we want reckon.
Which would also result in the complete annihilation of his regime. Under either scenario, North Korea is 100% guaranteed to lose a conflict with the United States in a limited conventional war or in a strategic nuclear war. But tactical nuclear weapons give the Kim regime a fleeting glimpse at hope that they could still somehow win. Under a scenario where they've got tactical nukes and the Kim regime, for whatever reason, perceives an imminent invasion or attack coming from the United States and or South Korea, tactical nuclear weapons loaded onto short-range ballistic missiles could be fired in a first strike policy in order to wipe out major American Army, naval, and air bases across South Korea in order to neutralize the immediate conventional threat on the peninsula before they could be used to disarm the North. Additional tactical nukes could then be fired at any approaching American carrier strike groups in order to prevent additional US naval and air assets from making a conventional counterattack. Simultaneously, North Korea would keep all of their longer-range strategic nuclear weapons in reserve and on standby in order to, hopefully, from their perspective, deter the United States from retaliating with their own strategic nuclear strikes. Were the US to do so, the North could, conceivably, fire their strategic nukes in reserve and hit a major American city somewhere. And while it's not exactly clear if the North Korean ICBMs could actually make it across the Pacific on their own or break through American missile defenses, the possibility for them doing it
I like how they got them testing grounds.
That's fire. That would give the US pause on whether to respond with a nuclear option or not. And this makes North Korea one of the most difficult countries in the world for the United States to deal with. By this point, the North likely has around 50 nuclear warheads in its arsenal and missile launch sites across the country. Were the United States to ever lead an attack into the country with attempts to quickly locate and eliminate all of the North's nukes before they could be deployed, there's always just the possibility that they would miss one or two that could then be launched at South Korea, Japan, or even the US mainland. An event that could possibly result in hundreds of thousands to even millions of civilian casualties.
They get mobilized
and even if it wasn't for all the nukes,
move them Johns around.
Still possesses a formidable conventional deterrent to an invasion as well. Over the past 70 years now, since the ceasefire ended the outright fighting in the Korean War, the North has spent it digging in thousands of artillery pieces all along the border that are all trained on the South Korean capital, Seoul. Seoul is only located around 50 kilometers away from the North Korean border and is one of the most densely populated cities in the world, while the metropolitan area around it is home to nearly half of South Korea's entire population, some 26 million people. All of these people live well within range of the North's thousands of artillery pieces just across the border, which effectively means that whether it feels like it or not, Seoul is being held as a hostage at gunpoint by the North. In the event of an all-out war continuing in Korea, North Korea's artillery could deliver tens of thousands of shells directly into Seoul within a few minutes' notice, resulting in apocalyptic levels of destruction, mostly inflicted from the North's withering artillery fire into Seoul. And that was all before the North had nuclear weapons, and before the ground war would begin. This ultimately all just means that there isn't any possible way to militarily confront North Korea that doesn't end up with millions of casualties somewhere. So, what about alternative ways to try and stop them? There's punitive economic sanctions, but these are very difficult to actually use to stop North Korea for a couple major reasons. First, North Korea is already so severely sanctioned that it's already largely isolated from the global system of trade. So additional sanctions do little to make their situation any worse than it already is. And secondly, completely isolating North Korea from the entire outside world is difficult because of China. China continues to trade extensively with North Korea and enables them to bypass many of their international sanctions. In 2020, more than 88% of all North Korea's international trade was conducted exclusively with China, largely made up of coal and mineral exports the North sells to China. Now, the Chinese trade extensively with North Korea for a multitude of reasons, but one of the largest reasons is that, at least on paper, the North Koreans and Chinese are official allies.
Yeah. So, it's kind of like this, like that little string of balance. China's there, they're not there. North Korea has nukes. That's kind of like their last draw. Even though they kind of have like I don't know if they have a first strike policy. I think they made it pretty public that they do. It's just pretty much if they feel like there's an immediate attack on the Kim regime, they're going to take that initiative. But again, if they take the initiative and start a war, China's not going to back them necessarily. They may even invade them. I feel like China will wait. I feel like they will wait for the United States and South Korea and Japan, all of them, to like initiate like an actual assault into North Korea before you would see China kind of like dive in from the north as well. Because it's not going to be as easy as it was back in the 50s when the first Korean War happened. You know what I mean? Because for the past few decades, they've been militarizing the DMZ. They got minefields and all that type of stuff. You know what I'm saying? All those artillery pieces. Again, it's really going to be of whether or not the United States and our allies can secure air dominance fast enough and take out those missile silos before North Korea could have the chance to use their nukes. But again, they have those mobile ICBMs that they can move around and kind of launch those nukes from anywhere in the country. You know what I'm saying? They're not just stationed in one spot. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, man, hit that like button, subscribe, and share. Let us know if you want to see more videos like this. And I know there's not a lot of YouTubers reacting to this kind of stuff. So hit that like button. Let me know down in the comments. That's going to let me know if I should keep doing this type of, keep reacting to these type of videos. But yeah, man, I want to see you next time. Road to 10K subscribers. Go check out our other channels. 412 Show, LB Gaming. Peace.